Support for WUWM podcasts comes from University School of Milwaukee, fulfilling a values-based mission of developing learners, fostering leaders, and preparing citizens for pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. More information at usm.org/mission.
Lake Effect brings you conversations about what's happening in Milwaukee and the people, places, and organizations that shape our community. This is Lake Effect Spotlight from WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR.
Last week, a national tour came to Milwaukee. Bay Area artist James Shields is on his third nationwide tour to interview Black farmers about Black agriculture and history. Previous legs of the tour brought Shields across the South and Northeast. Now he's tracing the Midwest, stopping in Milwaukee to interview farmers at Alice's Garden. And he conducts his interview on a handmade watermelon couch, which he tows with him across the country. Lake Effect Sam Woods joins Shields on the couch in Alice's Garden to discuss the project, the commonalities he sees across regions, and what stands out about Milwaukee.
Tell me how this couch came to be and why it's a watermelon.
So in the summer of 21, I quit my job as a design organizer for a labor union because I wanted to focus back on full-time art. But in doing that, I really wanted to step my game up in regards to like my next endeavors. So previously that year, I was in Mexico City and I was at an art festival and I saw this sculpture that kind of looked like furniture. And so I said, that's what I'm aspiring to do. And so that led me into soft sculpture by way of upholstery. And so in the beginning of 22, I made a collection of abstract pieces based off of my abstract paintings. And it was really just like some really funky couch cushion style sculptures. And so it went really well. I was able to present it and kids were able to play with it and whatnot. But Juneteenth was coming up and I was tasked with doing another collection. But I didn't have money for a new collection. So I said, like, what can I do? What can I use? And I realized that I had an old couch that was just getting rained on my balcony. So from there I said, you know what, I can at least customize a couch. I got a really great relationship with my upholstery team, and I've kind of seen the ins and outs of how to remake furniture. So I asked my friend, and we kind of just spoke on it, which was what represents Black people? And we settled on the watermelon. And so that's really how the couch came to be.
And so this couch has traveled across the country in multiple regions. Can you tell me about all the places this couch has been and why you've taken it on the road?
Man, me taking this couch on the road was really just to answer a question, which was, where are the Black farmers and where are the Black farmers that are growing watermelon? So a year from making the couch, really that spring, I found the Black farmers in the Central Valley, Northern Cal, and I interviewed them and I spoke with them and I put it on my social media, and I realized, like, okay, my community, my people want to hear these stories. And so because I created this for Juneteenth, I wanted to take the couch to where Juneteenth started, which is Galveston, Texas. And from taking it to Galveston, Texas, and realizing that I have family in Alabama, I was able to take the couch from Texas to Alabama with making stops along the way, talking to farmers, talking to business owners, creatives, anyone that had some kind of connection to land. And one of my posts went viral, and it was a farmer, Mr. Ben Burkett, who was talking about seeded versus seedless watermelon. And from that point, I knew like I really had something in regards to capturing stories specifically from elders, like just the nuances and the wisdom and the humor that elders possess was really something that was strong and fitting. So you asked me about the trip. So from that point, I realized that I wanted to retrace the Great Migration routes. So yeah, that first summer I was on the road for a month, just in the South. And then the second summer, I did more of the South, but I went the whole East Coast from South Carolina up to Maine. And then this year, I've been focusing on the Midwest, where I've come through Oklahoma and then made it up into like Louisville and then Ohio. And from Ohio, I've just been circling around the Midwest.
Are there commonalities that you see across regions in this country when it comes to Black agriculture and history?
Yeah, I think the biggest commonality is that we're 100 years from the Harlem Renaissance, right? And so I think now that there's a Black agricultural renaissance taking place, and at the center of that renaissance are artists, are creatives, and we're the ones that are bridging the gap between these farmers and our communities now that are not connected to the land. So whether it's in the healing arts, whether it's in the creative performative arts, any type of arts, we're coming back to the land because we realize the value that it has, and how we can utilize land, space, time. And then additionally, specifically in the South, that there's such a deep, deep history that still needs to be captured and shared. And who better to do it than artists?
What does that renaissance look like day to day? What have you seen out there?
Yeah, so, and mind you, I'm coming at this without knowing anything about ag. Even though I lived in the Central Valley or I lived next door to a community garden, it was still just like background to me. And so when I'm discovering this, I'm talking about this renaissance, it is the pop-up of community gardens and urban farms, but it goes deeper than that to where Black people are realizing our connections to the land from a spiritual and cultural practice. Like, it is growing food, but what is the practice of growing food and its relativity to us? Even in regards to the diaspora movement or the slave trade, as it's called, like, we brought food with us, and so there's just a deeper connection to food and to farming. I mean, like, slavery was agricultural slavery, you know what I mean? Like, we've been steeped in the land before we even got here. And so what we're realizing is that even though we're so disconnected from the land in many ways of urban living, that there's a call to us that we're answering to get back to the land. And so as we're re-engaging in agricultural practices, holistic living, wellness, we're bringing others with us and sharing that knowledge. And so this is the new norm, right? And this norm is because of societal happenings, like the state of food. And we're realizing that this is going to be something that we have to keep going. And I'll say lastly, it's just that skill set and tool of remembrance, you know what I mean? That this is what's connecting us to our ancestors and connecting us to our past, our grandmothers and grandfathers, and being able to just stay grounded in that sense of self-identity. And a lot of that comes through the practices that our ancestors have done by just being land stewards.
There's a lot of big themes there, right? So we have food sovereignty, ancestral traditions. Have you noticed changes in yourself at all through this project?
Oh, man. Yeah. Like, so the first year I would describe this as like exploration, like proof of concept. You know what I mean? Like, does this work? And it does. Last year was straight spirit quest, meaning the calling to do this project and the practices of walking with faith, meaning like not having money until a week before I left, not having a van until a week before I left, breaking down on the highway, not knowing where I'm going to stay. Like, all of these are just big faith practices. And so by doing that, it was really a just coming of age story, and like the artist journey, by just walking through the trials to make it through the other side. So, I know that's kind of really just topical surface level, but yeah, man, it's just about like pursuing the dream or pursuing the vision without seeing the steps in between. And so less of the ag, but just more of the artist journey and lifestyle that I say is like the biggest transformation to where I really know who I am now,
Talk more about that, the knowing who you are now. How have you changed?
Well, I studied business marketing in school, and my first job was in New York at Macy's as an assistant buyer. So I thought I was going to be a straight business guy for whatever that meant. And it turns out I was terrible at that job, trash. And I got laid off a year later. And from there I said, you know what, I'm going to be an artist. So that's what I set out to do. And I don't come from an artist background. I don't come from an artist family. Like if anything, it was like, what are you doing? From all angles. And when you measure in my family or just in general in America, like most people, you measure success by money, And because I wasn't making tons of money, I always felt compromised in like the path that I was walking, even though the successes and the journey and the experiences were evolving. It was just like, all right, I haven't made it yet. And so fast forward like 14 years later, literally on this journey with this watermelon couch, you feel me? And it's just like, when I pull up on people, the shock that I would see on their faces would kind of like trigger something in me, like, damn, I really am doing something wild. You know what I mean? And so, but what came along with that was a lot of people affirming what I was doing. You know what I mean? So this is like, I got $400 to me right now, and I'm in East Georgia going to South Carolina. And I'm just like, how is this going to work out? But it does work out. And not only does it work out, but then there's individuals affirming me and just speaking life into me and saying, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is where you should be at.
So switching gears a bit, if I'm putting myself in your shoes and just imagining your day-to-day experience the last few years, you're talking to black farmers, and these are people by definition who've taken kind of their own food sources in their own hands, right? And so I'm curious about your thoughts on food sovereignty and how you've seen people kind of take on that ownership of their own nourishment, again, in different regions of this country.
Yeah, I think what I've realized from my journey is how serious it's going to get. The axe hasn't fallen yet. Food stamps just got cut this year. And so while many people see farming and these community gardens as cute, it's about to be real in a minute. And these farmers that we know now, their knowledge and their value is about to skyrocket. And so this is coming from someone that's not a farmer, you know what I mean? But like seeing these conditions, but then seeing these individuals who actually know how to grow is really what's become crucial to me, is just being like, oh yeah, the need for agricultural knowledge is going to go through the roof. But then additionally, just like mental and physical well-being, whether it comes from putting your feet and hands in the soil and dirt, or just having time to decompress, and just all the benefits that come from working the land. That's been kind of like the biggest thing for me, is just that the power of whether making green spaces in the urban environments or getting out of urban environments to be in green spaces. That's what I've come to value and kind of like focus on more.
So we've spoken about commonalities across regions and what you've learned on this journey. But since you've been in Wisconsin and Milwaukee, is there anything that stands out about black agriculture here compared to other places you've been?
Well, I've only been here a few days, right? So I can't make any like proclaimed things, but I would say that one that sticks out the most for me is segregation. I didn't realize how heavily segregated of a city this is, and so that's really interesting. But I would just say, like, being here at Alice's Garden, right, it's beautiful. Like, this is a community hub with 100 plots, and I have not been to a community garden with 100 plots. You know what I mean? And so, this is a highlight of the journey, somewhere that stands out, where as I'm talking to people about different regional gardens and farms that I've been to, this garden is one that sticks out.
Last question I have for you is less of a question and more just an opportunity to have the final word.
Yeah.
So something you think I should have asked and you want to bring up, or just something you want to leave me with before I let you go.
Yeah. Now is the best time to record and document your loved ones, right? Like, what I want to happen from my journey and what I want people to know is that I've done this with the phone, and I'm pulling up on people and their elders, and just even themselves, time stamping and acknowledging the moment, so that I can go forward and share it. And I think that's exactly what we need to be doing and not taking it for granted. So pull out your phones, record your family members as they're just talking. Don't even tell them, because that's going to be those moments that you want to capture and you want to share, and that's going to be what you can pass on to younger generations.
Well, James, thank you so much for joining me on Lake Effect, and best of luck on your continued journey.
We appreciate you.
James Shields is an artist, designer, and educator, traveling the country to interview Black farmers. He spoke with Lake Effect's Sam Woods.
You can find more interviews like this one by visiting wuwm.com/Lake Effect. And while you're there, subscribe to the Lake Effect Spotlight podcast.
It's rare to find a podcast that can actually change your life. But when the show's called Life Kit, that's kind of the whole point. I'm Mariel Segarra. 3 times a week on the Life Kit podcast, we guide you through a topic we could all use help with, from personal development to healthy living to managing your dinero, with takeaways so you can start living what you learn right away. Escucha el Life Kit podcast from NPR.